Okay, I think we are started. Is the stream going though? That is the question. The stream is going. So I guess I should just explain what I hope to accomplish with this. I don't know. I feel like as time goes by, we forget stuff, We don't remember stuff as clearly. We don't remember specific moments as well. We don't really remember anything. Um if we go super far into the future. So I just thought, while some stuff is still fresh in my head and I have, my wits about me, I should just record it and note it down because someday when I'm, with my wife or with my kids and I want to share stories, I can just refer to this and refer to past Justin. Oops, that's my name. Whatever, past CurleeFriee, um, and have those stories told, and details provided that would normally not have provided, or stories that just normally would not have existed. So, that's just my thoughts, and so we're just gonna play some Genshin in the background, with no sound to just focus on what we're doing on the stories, on the memories, and yeah, that's what we're doing. So I guess since this is supposed to be like pre-K years, I should probably start at as young as I can remember. And I guess that's when I was born. I guess I don't know. Um, so maybe I myself, don't know about how I was as a baby. But I've definitely heard things from my mom, and of those things, the big one is that I was a very colicky baby. Like, I would not stop crying. I was a terrible, terrible baby. I wouldn't stop crying, and yeah, it was bad. It was bad. And then I know when I was born, which was in Massachusetts, um, my dad had a dog named Buddy. It's like a big Dalmatian or whatever. And there was a time when I was a baby on the bed, and Buddy jumped on the bed, and I guess Buddy did not like me, like, or something. But my mom thought Buddy was gonna rip me apart, and that I was going to be uh baby ground beef or something. Um, so that was apparently very scary for her, and it got to the point where she made an ultimatum to my dad that either Buddy needs to go or she's gonna go. And then guess what? Buddy went away. I don't know if they like took him to a place. I was a baby. They like took him to a place to give him up, or if it was taking him out back, with a shotgun or something. I don't really know. Um, but yeah, that's me as a baby. So I was born in Massachusetts, but my mom lived in New Hampshire. Um, so my mom lived in New Hampshire, and I was born in Massachusetts. And my grandparents, my mom's side's grandparents, because my dad's side grandparents had already passed away. They came over, I think, a couple months in, like when I was 3 months old. They came in to visit and help my mom, and she really appreciated it. And then they left for 6 months, and in those 6 months, my mom realized that she couldn't raise me on her own because my dad was kind of around, kind of not around. So it was just hard because my mom was also a working mom at the time. So it's a hard thing to do. So she eventually made the choice to move out to California, and that's where like I guess the largest part of my life, because pretty much from the age of whatchamacallit 1 year to about, I guess, this age, 23 years old, I was in California, whether that's would have been SoCal of Anaheim, SoCal Irvine, or SoCal LA for college. That was pretty much my life. I'm a SoCal boy. Um, so if we go a little bit forward beyond story time and how much of a crybaby I was, um, it's pretty much raised by my mom and my mom's side grandparents, which I would call nai nai for my grandma and yay for my grandpa. And they did so much for me. They honestly did so much. My mom would tell me my first word was yay yay because my grandpa didn't really work, but my mom did work, and my grandma worked. She kind of like worked part-time at a Marriott as like a chef because um, she was good at cooking. She had her own restaurant at one point in Colorado, which was before I was born. But yeah. Um, so yeah, my grandparents were a big part of my life. They're both passed away now, but they were a huge part, and I'm so thankful for how much they helped my mom and how much they helped me grow up. So that's just like to give some premise. And then the house that I lived in from when I was a baby to about high school, I moved for high school, was this place in Anaheim, and it was a nice house. It's a 1-story house with like 3 bedrooms, and we had a pavement that was, built when I was a kid, and I remember putting my handprint into the concrete, and signing it. And it's really faded at this point. Like, I don't even think you can tell it's a handprint, but it was there, and I signed the date. I feel like it was like 2003. So we've gone so far ahead. But I do remember that, and I have so many fond memories at that house. Like, I don't know, my bedroom was the warmest bedroom because it was surrounded by walls on 3 sides, and my grandma's bedroom was the coldest bedroom because it had like tile floorings and stuff. But that's the house. And it was the house I know, and the house I will always consider to be like a home I will always go back to. And I don't know what I would do if I'd never had access to that home again, because I think it means so much to me. But I guess we're going a little bit too general. I guess more pre-K stuff. What else was there about pre-kindergarten? Pre-kindergarten. I can talk about preschool. So preschool was pretty much... Oh, no. We can go before preschool. Before preschool, I was pretty much stay at home all day. And I was taken care of by my grandparents. And if they had to go somewhere, like my grandpa needed to go somewhere, I would go with him sometimes. But I distinctly remember having this high chair where it would set up. They would set it up in my bedroom with a TV. They would set it up with a TV, and they would put me in this high chair with like a bowl of cereal, and I would eat it while watching PBS. And I loved watching PBS as a kid, and even into like middle school, I watched PBS. Like, there were good shows at all sorts of ages, but I remember as a child, I watched Clifford the Big Red Dog, I watched Sesame Street, I watched Arthur. What other big ones were there? I feel like those I distinctly remember. I guess if I saw them again, maybe I could recognize them, but I'll definitely remember Arthur because that comes up later in first grade as a great story. But yeah, and normally those high chairs are something you like close because they have like a little table to set the food on and stuff, and then the kid can't get out. But it got to the point where I would just slip out like it was a slide and go out and do whatever, and I could slip back in too. So that was that was my time. And then the times where I couldn't, like my grandpa was busy, or as my mom put it, my grandpa had enough of me. I would go over to like a neighbor that was like 2 houses to the right, and there was this lady called Nora who basically ran a daycare. So I would visit there sometimes, and I would play and whatever. And I guess she was good with kids, and other neighborhood kids would play there too. So I would go there at some points when my my grandpa was tired of me, or my grandma was tired of me. So that was pretty much my 2 to 3 years age, before preschool started, because I don't remember doing any sort of other schooling. All I really remember is that high seat chair, watching PBS, and that's really all I don't remember. To be fair, all this is built off of like either stories or stuff I remember. Like, I know my mom took a ton of photos and took a ton of videos when I was a baby, but I don't have those with me right now because I'm in Texas. So that's just what it is. So and then we get into preschool, and I think preschool is when I realized I was stupid as a young kid. Like, I remember our preschool was outside, was run through a church. It was this little church, and they would run a preschool during the weekdays, I guess. And the things I distinctly remember about that preschool was they had this red tricycle that was so much faster than all these other like quadricycles or whatever, or other safe stuff. But there was one really fast red tricycle that every kid, every boy wanted to ride. And I loved it. I thought it was cool. So you always want to go out to recess. I don't even know if that's what they call it, recess, but you always wanted to go to recess first so you could get that tricycle, because everybody wants that fast tricycle. I get it or whatever, and I don't get it sometimes, or you have to share, whatever, that's fine. But I distinctly remember this time in preschool where we had this assignment, and the assignment was literally just coloring things in, like just color the boxes, color in between the lines, and color, specific color. And I couldn't do it. I don't know why. It was taking me so long that the teacher felt bad for me, and she said, "Don't worry about it. Just go." And me being a kid, I was like, "Okay, sure, I'll go." But like, I couldn't even color stuff. I couldn't color stuff appropriately on my own. Like, I don't know why that's how it was, but that's what happened. And I think looking back, it just made me think, like, I was dumb. Like, I couldn't color in the lines of a specific color. It was just so weird to me, looking back, that I couldn't do that. But it's fine. Yeah, that's me being a dumb kid. What else do I remember? The other thing I remember is that the preschool had like nap time. Every kid would be shoved, I guess not shoved, but every kid would go into the cathedral area, and you would have to bring like a mat to sleep on. And I remember my mat was like a 2-colored mat. Like, on one side was like green, and the other side was blue. And it would fold up into 3 pieces, and I think either we stored it there, because I don't remember bringing it every day or having to take it out of the car with me every day. So it was like folded into 3 pieces, and you would unfold it, and you would lay down on it, and you were expected to sleep. And me being a kid, I don't know what it was, but I'm pretty sure I slept most of the time. Like, I can remember laying down and sleeping and then waking up, So I don't know if like they drugged us or something, or if we're just, kids that completely destroy all our energy, and then we just have to recuperate it. But yeah, I distinctly remember taking naps all the time. So that was something. I remember that. And I enjoyed nap time. I still love nap to this day, and who knows, maybe this is a contributing factor to why I love napping so much. Is just the fact that I was forced to nap like every single day for like a year, or like 9 months of a year. Um, and I never really knew if my mom had to pay for it, or if it was just something the church did. I would assume she had to pay for it, you know. Um, so I guess she paid for it, and that's I'm thankful. It was fun. I met a good friend as a kid, a good friend named Rebecca who had like a sister, and my mom got along with her mom, and I think um, both our moms got along because they were basically like single parents. The dad wasn't really in the picture that much, um, so I think they got along based on that. But like, I mean, my dad was around. He kind of just did his own thing, worked his own work, and then he was there when I needed him, and that's what I'm always thankful for. My dad was always there when I needed him. And he really was. So I'm very thankful for that. But I remember this one time, my mom took Rebecca's mom and Rebecca and her sister up to, I guess I don't know if it was like Big Bear or something, but it was like in the mountains. And she took us in this like blue Ford Expedition. Um, it was like this blue Ford Expedition, and she would drive it up into the mountains. And driving up into the mountains, it's a windy road. Um, and I guess Rebecca's mom had never driven the two kids or her two daughters up this windy road before, or up a windy road before, and didn't know if they got car sick. Well, turns out they got really car sick. We had to stop so many times so they could vomit. Like, I just remember us stopping so many times, and me being a dumb kid. I'm like, why? What's wrong with them? Like, why are they? Because I don't get car sick, and I'm honestly so thankful for that. I feel like getting car sick would be so detrimental to my life, to how I live. So I'm thankful for that. But I just couldn't wrap my hand, like, why do they have to throw up so much? Like, what's wrong? Um, so they got car sick. And then what else about the car? The car also had um like a movie, like there's like cars that had like DVD players in the back for the kids to watch, and we watched movies on it, or we tried to watch movies, I think, and then it didn't go so well. But I really enjoyed being able to watch movies in the back seat, growing up as a kid. So that was nice. So we watched movies, and we get up to this place. I really I don't know if it was Big Bear or something, but we went up there to do camping. And I remember me and my mom would sleep in the car, because me being a kid, like, the car is so long, it's like plenty of space for me to just lay down and sleep. So I just slept in the car. And my mom would sleep in the car too. I think she slept in the front seat to give me like the full back seat, so there's no like middle section in the way, which I appreciate. Mom always how to explain it? Mom always sacrificed for me, and I'm very thankful for her, and I love her for it. Um but yeah, I we slept in the car, and otherwise I feel like the trip was fine. I don't really remember much details about it, but let me just type this out So let's we'll see. Okay, so the other thing I remember about this trip is a memory I hopefully will remember for the rest of my life, and it's how stupid and easily distracted I was as a kid. And pretty much while we were at the camp, I saw a squirrel. Um, I saw a squirrel and I chased the squirrel. And I chased it and I chased it and I chased it. Like I chased it so far that I had no idea how to get back. Like my head was to the ground just running for this squirrel. Like I don't know why the squirrel didn't just decide to run up a tree as soon as possible, because that would have worked. But it just kept running along the ground further and further and further. And I kept chasing it and I kept chasing it and I kept chasing. And eventually it got to the point where it eventually got away. And I looked up and I'm like, I don't know where I am. I don't know where my mom is. And I'm completely lost. I didn't cry or anything. I was just like, okay, I'll just try and head back in the same direction I think I went. And I kept walking and kept walking. And I don't really know what happened beyond my mom found me, or I could hear her screaming. But like, she was so distraught. She thought her kid got kidnapped. But in actuality, a squirrel just led me along for so long, and that's what happened. Maybe the squirrel was in on like some kidnapping ring of squirrels, and they're working with people. But it was crazy. Like it was actually crazy how dumb I was that I just went along for it. And I ran, and that was that. So that was that trip. I don't remember anything else beyond that for that trip, other than that wonderful experience. What else do I remember in my pre-K years? Realistically, pre-K. I know at one point, I didn't go to Disneyland. I went to Legoland with my dad, and I loved Legoland. I honestly love Legoland. The Legoland that's like in San Diego area, or whatever. I love it. I honestly love it so much, and I honestly want to go again with my girlfriend. Because there's just so much memories of there especially with my dad. Like he would always take me to Legoland, and we would have such a good time. And the things I distinctly remember about Legoland was they had the dragon ride, the green dragon ride. And my dad, he loves spending money. Like if my mom was a saver of money, my dad was a spender of money. So he bought like a full-blown blow up of us on that dragon ride, and he kept it all these years, and I'm so thankful that he did, because I think it is a great memory to have with him. The other things about Legoland that I remember is what else do I remember about Legoland? What was it? I remember what you call it. They had like the driving school where you could like drive the Lego cars. And I enjoyed that. That was always fun. But what else? They had this section where you could build your own like mini car. And you can race them with other kids that are building their own mini cars, and I enjoyed that as well. Yeah, those are like bits and pieces. I just remember those key moments of my preschool, and then a lot of other stuff kind of just blurs, you know? Like, it's like, did this happen when I was a preschooler, or did it happen when I was kindergartner or an elementary schooler? Because at some point it's like, if it's in school, you can identify, like I can identify stuff between what happened in preschool versus what happened in kindergarten versus what happened in elementary school, because there's the there's that location, there's that location factor that's telling me, oh, this happened in kindergarten because it took place where my kindergarten was, or it took place on the playground of my kindergarten. But once you're outside, it's like, it could be anywhere, especially like if I live my life all in SoCal, like things blur together. SoCal is SoCal. Like I could be in Westminster and it could be, 1 year later and I still think, it's still Westminster. So how different can it be? So yeah, I can go to other memories. Like, I love my grandpa. I love him so much, and he was so amazing, and he was so helpful, and he was so proud of me, and I'm so thankful, and I hope that he's still proud of me, watching down or doing whatever, people that are gone doing. But he was a very easily upset. I feel like he had a Napoleon complex because he was a little short, on the short side, and he could easily like yell at people. Like, it did not take much for him to yell at people, to be completely honest. um and I still love him for that, and we had our issues, which are their own stories, which are definitely elementary school, because the stuff that he did was definitely not something that would happen in preschool age. But yeah, he knew how to yell. That's for sure. But what else? What else is there really? Preschool time. I had a Disneyland annual pass, but I don't think it was preschool. I think preschool is too young, because if I'm thinking about it correctly, the time I went to Disneyland was a time when I knew one of my elementary school friends. So that's that's stuff. What do I need to do in this game? I need to make delicious radish veggie soup. Okay. Um but yeah, I don't think I had my Disneyland annual pass at this age. That'll be for a later age. What else happened in preschool? What stuff was I into? Did I get into Power Rangers in preschool? I don't think so. I think I got into Power Rangers in kindergarten. So what things was I interested in? Like, my guess is like it was dinosaurs. Boys love the dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are cool. Um, but yeah, preschool was like not much to it. I just remember knowing Rebecca. Um, there was another guy kid that I knew. He was like a cool white kid, but I don't really remember his name. So awkward. Oh gosh, I need to climb. But yeah, that's preschool. So I hope this is man, I'm just trying to think here, because it would be weird to go back to preschool when I'm in like kindergarten, Like, giving sneak peeks of kindergarten is one thing, but going back to preschool is kind of just like weird, I guess. So let me think. Bum ba bum 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 bum. Preschool. What about preschool? I talked about the bed. I talked about the napping. I talked about my time as there. Like, traveling. Did I do any traveling in preschool? I probably did, because since my grandmother worked at Marriott, And this was the time in the past where, whatchamacallit, this is a time in the past where employee discounts actually were good, like the employee rates for Marriott were good. I don't know if they're the same nowadays. I haven't gotten an employee rate at a Marriott in a while, but I remember the rates being really good. Like it was so good to the point that my uncle would visit and it would need to go through my grandma to get a rate. But I did do some traveling, but realistically that's something that would be more covered in like photos and videos, especially when you go someplace special. My mom is a huge photo taker, and in the present you're like, oh my gosh, she just keeps taking like 5 photos of the same position. Okay, that's still annoying. I guess that's always annoying, but having a lot to look back on is good, so that's good, and I don't need to worry about this. So yeah, that's good. Bada bada boom. I really don't mind. That just goes to show. There's probably like if I did this, you know, 10 years ago, I probably would have so much more to talk about. But I don't, because it's so long ago that I don't remember it. And if I do this like 5 years later, I'd probably remember even less. And I honestly don't remember much anyways right now. So that just goes to show. But yeah, I think this sums up my preschool years well enough. Um, well enough to be like, I'm happy, I'm happy talking about this. I do remember my grandmother. I mean, we're like totally rambling at this point because I don't know what to talk about. Um, but I do know my grandmother. She made this pound cake. And it was so good. Um, and she would make it for me, and it was so like warm and fluffy, and I remember that so distinctly. Like she made a lot of good tasting things, but that pound cake was something else, that's for sure. Let's see. What else do we have to talk about? Nothing much. So yeah, I think that's a good stopping point. My pre-K years doesn't have much to go off of. Um, and I think that's fine. I think it's fine to not have that much so far in the past, because there's a lot to. If I remember stuff later on, I'll be sure to talk about it. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't need to have a specific flow. We're kind of just talking and going back and forth and doing whatever it is we got to do. So yeah, this was the pre-K years. My word of advice for anyone is to journal, because I think journaling is so useful and so helpful for these types of things going back on. Like if I wrote a journal, not even every day, like every week, every month, I could have kept so much detail about my life preserved, And nowadays kids have so much more. They make videos all the time with their phones. Man, I sound old, but and I think that's good. People say to those kids who are on Instagram or whatever, like, what are you doing all this time? But 20 years down the line, a lot of times people are going to be extremely embarrassed about what they've posted, but it's better than nothing. Sometimes let's make this a sometimes. It's better than nothing to be able to see, like, this is who I was. This is what I did, and this was my life. So I would highly recommend starting a journal if anyone's listening. I don't know if anyone's listening. To start a journal, to take note of what you did in a month, in a week, just like what's going on in your life, so you can do more, remember more, and look back with more clarity and detail than what I'm doing, than what people who have nothing do. So yeah, I will hope to do like kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, and hopefully as we move forward, I can add more detail. Um, and then eventually maybe I can go back some point and watch videos and talk about those and get more detail out of those photos and videos that I do have to tell more of a story than what those videos can show. But yeah, I think that's it for today. If anyone is watching or is watching in the future, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you can take a little bit idea to know about the life of some kid who was born in Massachusetts and lived his life in Southern California for the most part, and is now in Texas. Um, because I don't know, maybe you see that we're more similar than you thought. You see that we're more different than you thought, or that we're different yet we do have some similar experiences along the way. But yeah, this has been CurleeFriee. I hope you have a nice day, a nice night, or whatever else it may be. And bye now.